Joining me now, Richard Socarides, writer for TheNewYorker.com, also an LGBT activist and former senior advisor to President Clinton. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Now, this reverses course. This was rejected 3 times, and now they're putting a hold on it until the appeal follows through. So just tell us what this means and how big a blow this is.
Well, I don't think it's really a reversal. I think all it means and what it tells us about the Supreme Court, and it was not really a surprise, was that when matters are complicated and important, that the Supreme Court likes to act slowly and deliberately.
But didn't they just make a decision that sort of made this all possible?
Well, last summer they had 2 important rulings in the Windsor case and in the Proposition 8 case, but they didn't squarely address the issue of whether or not there was a federal constitutional right to same-sex marriage. That's the big issue that they have not yet addressed, and they've indicated in their rulings that they want to go slow, that they're not quite ready, that they want the law to develop in the states, and I think that that is the meaning of the interim ruling they made in Utah, that they want to slow things down a little bit.
So let me ask you then, before I get on to what those 1,000 people are going to do in Utah, does that mean if they made a decision here, when they do, if they decide that it is unconstitutional to ban it in Utah, that will then open the floodgates for all 50 states?
Well, we can't know that because we won't know exactly what they say. These are, these are complicated, and there are all kinds of different ways they could rule. Arguably, you would think this Utah case, which is definitely headed for the Supreme Court, would present the issue squarely, and if the issue is presented squarely, you would think they would have to address it squarely, but we don't know. We won't know probably for another 18 months.
We're very tight on time because of the Senate vote, and I just want to ask you, what happens to these 1,000 couples in Utah? Does that mean their marriages are nullified?
Well, certainly we hope that their marriages will be recognized no matter what happens eventually in the Supreme Court. The precedent for that is in California, because we had a similar situation in California in Prop 8, where there were some people who were allowed to be married legally, and then Prop 8 was passed and that right was taken away. So we certainly think that the courts in Utah would interpret these marriages as completely valid and recognizable, and there's precedent for that, but we don't know what the Utah courts are going to rule.
Richard Socarides, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I still have this hour.